Mic check. We ready? All right. Are we though? Thirsty. That's what she said. And action. Hey. God, jeez. We're here. All right. Hi. Welcome back to my space. My name is. If you're new here, come on. Hi. I feel like I'm low. So it should be different, sorta, kinda. Lord Jesus, that's goodness. I've wasted like a whole minute doing nothing of importance. Okay, guys, that's it. That's just.
Sometimes I'm mystery, sometimes I'm free, depending on my mood or my attitude. Sometimes I wanna roll or stay at home, walking contradiction.
Hi guys, welcome back to my space. If you're new here, my name is Jules and I'm the dancing advocate. So, I know it has been a while since I brought something new to you guys, but yes, we are back. It was just mainly because I feel like I didn't have something new to bring to you, and then also I had talked about a lot of things and covered a lot of topics, though not in depth, but covered a lot of topics in a short span of time. Yes, 1 year may not seem like a lot, but to me it seemed like a lot to have about 7 or 8 different topics, yeah, on the channel or on my space. So I wanted to just take some time off to be able to see what I would want to talk about, to see if or rather how the response is from you guys. And I feel like so far so good. I mean, if you watch my previous videos and if you watch the videos of when I was starting out, you'll see that it was, for me, it's just more of talking about things that people find it hard to talk about, or conversations that people rarely have. And so that is why I started my channel. And so, yeah, that's just going to continue, other than the dance videos that I've been posting for my classes and such like things. I plan to go back to talking about candid topics, or rather having candid conversations, and that is why we're here today. So, after my rambling, please don't think I have corona. I don't. I think my vocal cords are a bit shocked by the amount of talking that I have been doing today, especially with this. So, yeah, don't go report me to the authorities. Moving on swiftly. So, in the most recent video that I posted, I was talking with Agneta about dealing with trauma, though I don't feel like we even went ankle deep or knee deep into the topic. It is wide, it is a lot, and I think mainly because we're not professionals. Though she is in a sense because she did do psychology, if I'm not wrong. Correct me, please, Agneta. But yeah, she has some background, I think, in those things. But yeah, so since we're not talking really as professionals, and it was more of on our personal experiences. We didn't really get into like, what is trauma, how do you deal with trauma, and all those things. It was more of on what we do and how we go about it and the things we have experienced as individuals. So yeah, I'm today going to talk about my journey to emotional well-being. Let's just call it that because I feel like most of my traumatic experiences have been emotional, and not necessarily romantically, but yeah, even with friendships and such like things, it's been more of emotional than physical or psychological. But yeah, I want to talk about the emotional side of it and from my experiences in either recent years or dialing back to my childhood. So, I feel like we first need to, let's say, define what trauma is, and I will define it in a way that I have understood it. Yeah. So for me, it's an experience that overwhelms an individual. Yeah. One, either it overwhelms you emotionally or physically or psychologically, and you find it hard or difficult to cope after this whole experience has happened. Yeah. So it could be, I'll speak now from childhood. It could be that maybe your parents divorced when you were young. It could be that your mother or father was abusive, either emotionally, psychologically, or physically. It could be that you were abandoned or you were rejected at a young age. It could be that you were sexually assaulted at a young age. So those things most times grow with you, and then sometimes they manifest almost immediately where like you draw back and you find it hard to act around people in certain social settings, or how to act emotionally, or how your brain reacts to certain things. You find it difficult now after this traumatic experiences. For some people, it doesn't happen immediately. Some people, the trauma, or rather the effects of the trauma manifests in their teen years or in their early adulthood or even late adulthood. So someone is in their 40s and they're wondering why they suddenly became violent or why they suddenly became manipulative. But most times when you look back, you find that this person went through a traumatic experience at some point in their lives, right? So I will speak about myself, which there's a day that a friend of mine mentioned that I hardly speak about my own personal experiences on my channel. It's not because I don't like to share. It's more like when I have a guest here, I feel like I bring them here for a reason, for them to speak and share their experiences and for them to give advice on based on what they've gone through, right? So I find myself most times asking questions and wanting to know about more about them than what I have gone through. Sometimes yes, I will be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's similar to something I've gone through, or based on that, this is what has happened to me. So yeah, but I prefer, or I've found it better and more exciting to have people come on and talk about their experiences rather than me just sitting here and talking about my experiences. But yet, yes, brother, yes, here we are. Thanks to Corona, we are here and I am giving you my personal experiences. Yeah, so let's get right into it. So I in the previous video we talked about how we deal with our traumatic experiences. I I did mention a few things. Agneta did mention a few things. We talked about how we now speak up and how we talk about how we feel. Yeah. So for me, more often than not, I found myself writing. Yeah. So if I feel like it was something that maybe stemmed from either my childhood or my teenhood or young adulthood, I will write it down. I mean, I'm still a young adult, but if it's an experience that was caused by something that happened to me, I will write it down. And of course, maybe the reason why I find myself writing down is because now I have something has triggered a certain emotion in me, or something has triggered that feeling for, oh my god, I don't feel safe, or I don't feel like I can act right in this situation because of what happened to me before. Yeah, so let's backtrack a little bit before I get to my own personal experience. Yeah, these things manifest. So first, physically, emotionally, it will manifest in, can manifest in sadness, can manifest in anger, it can manifest in fear. So depending on what traumatic experience you went through when you were younger, that now manifests emotionally in those certain ways. So that is emotionally. Physically, it will manifest in nausea, dizziness, altered sleep. So you find someone is an insomniac, or someone has anxiety, or someone is having emotional outbursts, but you can't really quite put a finger on it, yeah? So that is physically and psychologically, yeah? So then at the end of all this, so after you've gone through the emotional, the psychological, the physical manifestation of the trauma, then now that's when you find people, either they have anxiety, either they have PTSD or PTRS, which we talked about in a previous video with Agneta as well, yeah? So that's post-traumatic relationship syndrome. Then someone doesn't know how to act. You're in a relationship or you're in a marriage, but you don't know how to react to certain things because of what happened to you some time back, yeah, or in your childhood. So that is how most traumatic experiences manifest in an individual. Everybody is different. So then there's the small t traumas and the big T traumas. Small t, and please note, one, I'm not talking as a professional. Two, people, like I said, people are different. So one person will react a certain way to even a big T trauma, and someone who is going through a small T trauma will react like it is a big T trauma. So it's, everybody is different, yeah? So small T traumas, let me give examples. So let's say your parents divorced at a young age. These are considered small T traumas, not by me, but medically, psychologically, those people who studied this, psychology and such like things, these are the things that they consider small T traumas, right? So you find someone is, your parents divorced at a young age, or someone used to insult you when you were younger. So, it's not manifested largely per se, but the people who actually will go through PTSD because of that, right? Then there's the big T traumas, which is now sexual assault, physical assault, where grief or loss. So now you've lost someone. Let's say you lost a parent, and so when you grow older, it's like it manifests. All right. So those are, sorry, there's a beetle, a huge beetle. I need to let it out. Give me a second. So yeah, we've talked about how people react to certain traumas and the types of traumas that are there, or traumatic experiences that someone could go through. Yeah, and how everybody reacts differently because we're all wired differently, all right? So for me, I would say most of my traumatic experiences, if I can call them that, have been emotional, and I consider them small T traumas, but I think having ignored them over time I have come to, they have come to manifest as big T traumas in the sense that, or rather how I react to them. Like now how they will give me anxiety, or how I will be hopeless in my relation with the opposite sex when it gets to a certain point where it has to be, okay, you have to make tough decisions and you have to decide, okay, so where is this going? And now I get anxious, and then I double back and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we don't have to do this now. So I'll go my way, you go yours. Yeah. So in that sense, it has sort of kind of almost kabisa messed up my relationships or situationships or whatever we can call them. Anyway, so my emotional experiences mainly in the sense of romantic relationships. Yeah, I've never had emotional trauma per se with regard to friendships, though I do feel like in a sense they are intertwined, and in a sense I reacted to all of them in the same way. So I ended up just being asshole to people, or even to myself, just so that I could get over that feeling of anxiety or the feeling of panic that I would get from these traumatic experiences. Anyway, I've mumbled a lot. So, how I have come to deal with this situation is I find myself writing. I write a lot, and it's funny because the day my son came into my room and he's like, "You have so many notebooks." Like he's always like, "How?" And you're just buying more. Yeah, even right now, writing. So I find myself writing about how I feel about certain situations, how a certain experience will make me feel, whether it's a happy or a sad one. I always find myself writing. And it's been a good way for me to cope with stuff. Like I would, if I have to make even a big decision, whether it's work related, school related, relationship related, I actually write it down. And sometimes I will write like I'm having a conversation with someone, and I will write, and then from there I can pick what I need to say to this person. Or I found it easier that way because whether the writing makes sense at the time that I'm writing it or it doesn't, but at the end of it all, I will somehow pick and make sense of it all, and then I will be at a better place um to express myself. That's the word I was looking for, to express myself. Yeah, so I'm at a better position to do that once I have written everything down. Now, after writing, so this is what almost every time happens. Either I will cry, get emotional. Yes, very dramatic. I do get emotional, and then I will pray about it. So those are the three major things that I have noticed in, let's say, the past three years that have been able to help me get to where I am right now in my emotional journey. I mean, I've not gotten to where I'm like, you know what, no trauma, I'm good, I'm fine, as in nothing can faze me. I'm not there yet. I don't know if anyone can ever get there. I feel like sometimes there are certain triggers that will come, but it has really helped me in the sense that I will be like, okay, this and this has happened. What do I feel about it at this point? So I will sit down and I will just write. If I don't have a book and a pen at the time, I just pick my phone and I just type. But most times, more often than not, I have a book and pen with me. So I'll just sit down and I will write. And for me, it helps also just decompress. It also helps pick out the different emotions. Like if I'm angry about something, if I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm scared, all those emotions, at least now I can, box them and be like, okay, so I'm feeling this about this, and this is not related to this, but this is how I feel about it. So then at the end of the day, or at the end of my writing, I can sit down and be like, okay, so having written and said all these things, how am I feeling? What does that mean? What does it mean when I say I'm angry about something someone has said, or I'm sad about certain situation? What does it mean? Does it mean that I'm on the wrong? Does it mean that this other person is on the wrong? And then now, after I have done all that, okay, do I need to actually sit down and talk to this person and tell them that, hey, yo, when you said this or when you did this, you hurt me, or when you said and did this, you pissed me off? It's it may not be for everybody, because I know for some people who they would not even write. There are people who just act. There are people who would take their time, cocoon, and then come back after a few weeks, and they know what they want to say. They know how they feel about certain things. But yeah, so that is why now it's how I deal with my traumatic experiences, or how I deal with certain emotions, and how I deal with my relationships. Yeah. So I don't know if that is going to help anybody, but I would think it would be worth the try if you feel like you're overwhelmed, yeah, with emotions. It could be anger, it could be sadness, it could be joy even. It could be you could be anxious about something. Maybe you have an interview, maybe you have and it could be anything, yeah. Sit down, write, just write it doesn't have to make sense, right? And put it all on paper, and then after that you can slowly pick out, okay, so what am I really feeling about this? And I've come to learn that with doing that, it has really, really helped me sometimes, because sometimes I find myself acting because I mean it's a human response sometimes when we act out of anger or out of sadness. So you want to hurt somebody else just because they hurt you, or you want to piss someone else off just because they pissed you off. So you find yourself acting out of that emotion, and the one thing you just need to do is sit down, breathe first of all, and then be like, okay, so how is this making me feel? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Is it because of something that happened to me before? Do I think that this person is going in the same route, or am I just being paranoid, or am I just overreacting? And then at the end of the day, you find that you make better decisions. Sometimes it may not be the best of decisions, but you make decisions that are good for you, good for the people around you. Sometimes it may hurt still, but you find that you're all at peace at the end of it, yeah? Because it brings so much peace, because you're like, okay, you decompress and you're like, okay, this is how I feel, this is why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and it was caused by this. It may not even be a traumatic experience. It could just be someone pissed you off and you're like, okay, why? Why am I pissed? Why did they piss me off? Yeah, so I recently read something in the Bible in Ephesians. So I read from Ephesians chapter 4 to chapter 6. And yes, it's the whole how to act. Do not act out of anger. Do not go to do not let the sun set before. All that from like 4 all the way to 6, and there were things that really stood out for me, and especially when it's with regard to emotional experiences and emotional situations that you feel, hey, here I really cannot. I don't even know how to act. I don't know what to say. But the first thing that I notice it tells you, if I'm not wrong, I think it's Ephesians 4 from 25 or from 26, where it tells you that you should be honest with your emotions. Speak out honestly. Yeah, I have paraphrased, but it has something to do with that. It's for you to be honest. Like, okay, so this is how I'm actually feeling, and even if it's either telling yourself or telling the other person, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a partner, it could be a friend, and just be like, you know what, you hurt me. And because you hurt me, I need some time to just woosah first, and then we can talk about this, you know? Or if I don't feel like talking about it, I will tell you, you know what, I don't feel like talking about it. But it made me realize that sometimes we deal with all these things so badly, where someone does something that will piss you off and you're just out there in their face like they have killed you or killed a loved one. And it's not the easiest thing, especially to not speak out of anger, because most times you want to just go at someone mad, but you're just like, you know what, okay, I don't like what you did, but yeah, give me time, let me just chill for a bit, and then you come back. So of course, do not go to bed angry, do not speak out of anger. And so yeah, you find yourself, then you decompress, you sit down and you write it down. So this is the point. My advice comes in. You write it down, or you do whatever you need to do. If you go out for a jog, or you go to walk around in Ololu or something, like, you know, you figure out what you do to deal with a traumatic experience. Yeah, so if it's taking a walk, if it's jogging, if it's going to the gym, if it's writing it down, putting it all on paper. But I think the one thing that I would advise is, if you go through something like that, hopefully, I pray or I hope for every single person that it doesn't lead to a destructive behavior. So let's say if you're someone who deals with a traumatic experience by drinking or by smoking up or by smoking, or, you know, I hope that it's not a destructive behavior. So let it be something constructive, where you write or you go sing or you go dance or something that will help you just calm down, and then now put your emotions together, put yourself in check and be like, okay, you know what, this is how I want to react to this. Yeah, so I guess that's it. From my emotional experience to how I deal with it. And in the next video, I will actually be talking about what I feel one of my first emotional traumas was, and how it has affected me till now, and how I am learning to deal with it. And yeah, so thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do, and check out all the other videos, and don't forget to live, love, and dance.